Riverine, can you do something for me? That is the question today as we kick off Audiology, the podcast, episode 1, with the track that is currently taking over the world, being Rich Flex by Drake and 21 Savage. This song's got some big boy production credits on it. We've got Tay Keith, Vinyls, FNZ, and Boogs the Beast. It was mixed by 40, of course, who you'll know does all of Drake's stuff, as well as Noel Cadastre. I hope I'm saying that right. And we've got Chris Athens and Dave Huffman on the mastering. This is the first track off Drake and 21's new record, Her Loss, and it's a lot. It's a marathon. It's the intro track. It's a multi-legged trap banger with about 4 different instrumentals, I think I counted. There's vocal samples, there's singing, there's rapping. And what I came away with was this song's got a philosophy, and that's why it's as big as it is at the moment, or at least that's my guess. It's keeping the instrumentation and effects super stripped back and basic. Nothing's really vying for your attention too much in the way of the beat. And I think this is because the dynamics and the processing and the performance in the vocals varies so much. So you can't really afford to pay attention to anything else. It just kind of feels like vocally the song's always throwing you a curveball. And we'll get into that. So like in the first hook, you've got Drake and 21 Savage. The ad-libs are at the same volume as the lead, which is quite odd. Usually you'd hear ad-libs tucked away in panning from ear to ear with a bit of reverb, maybe a bit lower in volume. But they're both right there, both in the center. Not really anything happening in the way of effects. So yeah, a bit of an unusual approach. Then in the next section, we've got this completely out of the blue stark switch up to auto-tune Drake. And I just wanted to point out that the vocal chain in this section feels like something I can only associate with Drake. I hear it all over Certified Lover Boy. It just sounds like this super intense multiband compression, just tucking in every frequency of vocals. So it's like this super controlled, almost robotic, dry radio robot vocal. I don't know how else to say it, but it just doesn't feel super natural. But yeah, I guess in terms of translating to speakers, it's something that probably works for the team. But yeah, for any engineers out there, it's worth paying attention to how controlled that vocal is. Throughout all of these sections, every melodic element in the instrumentation is staying right out of the way of the vocal, which I think is super interesting. You kind of can't look anywhere else again. On the whole, the song sounds pretty flat. It's actually a lot less bright than what I'd expect from this kind of release. You'd usually expect a lot more treble and top end. Yeah, here, nothing's really poking out. Nothing's really happening left and right. The stereo field's super controlled. It's all down the middle. And there's very little effects and creative processing on the vocals. Everything's hitting, everything's audible, but again, nothing's sticking out. Until the last leg, when we get a pretty huge boost in sub, which you can hear hitting the mastering compressor pretty hard. You might notice that every time the sub, or the 808, you might call it, hits, the vocal and the piano just duck down a little bit. The mastering engineers obviously had the intention of pushing the energy forward in this final section, meaning the sub comes to the forefront. And obviously, if you want more of one thing, you're going to get less of the other. That's just how mastering to the digital floor of 0 works. You want more bass? Cool. You're just going to hear a little bit less vocal. So with all of this being said, what can we learn? How can we take this away and make music or appreciate music better? My thoughts are that these viral hits are made from personality and translatability. 2 things. Meaning the beat has stayed out of the way of the vocal completely so that the performances and the quirks of this weird song can shine through. It also means, in terms of translatability, that the super flat approach to the mastering and engineering is geared towards all devices, meaning there's not really a ton happening left to right, so that if you hear it at a club speaker and you're on the right side, you're getting everything. If you're walking to work and you've got one AirPod loosely in, you're hearing everything. You're not missing everything. It's all geared towards translatability and the quirkiness of the song getting across for virality. The song's taking over the world right now, and it's been nice to try to understand why.